Welcome back to another episode of This Old Shop. Today should be the last day of our demolition. We need to get rid of the little office we have left here after we got rid of the rest of the offices. Then it'll be time to start putting our walls back up so that we can have the shop the way we want it. So let's get started so we can get the shop done and start working on some cars.
Upstairs flooring. We meet again. I was a bit overly optimistic when I thought I could get away without removing every single panel of this flooring, but it looks like that's what we're going to end up doing. Maybe we'll get lucky and we can leave the one that's under the water heater, at least one panel. So we're going to pull this other panel out of here, because part of this isn't going to be here anymore. Luckily it's only half a piece, but I'm pretty sure they built the building around it. Can't for the life of me figure out how to get it out of there. Recalculating. Well, the saw's downstairs, so we'll just move on to this piece, because I'm pretty sure I can figure out how to get this one out. Pull it up a little bit. Pull out whatever nails are sticking through now. And pull up the rest of the way. To get that last row out, we'll just put our board under there and drop it. Pop all those nails out. Maybe if I stand on this piece, it'll magically fall out of there. It's probably the only chance I have of it coming out of there. At least without the use of the reciprocating butter knife. We have a clear shot at this panel, so we can use our assault flooring removal tool. Carefully peel it off of there. You don't want to take too much or you will rip it in half. I know this from experience. Got everything but that last row, but I'm feeling greedy today. Let's see if we can get that last row. Besides, up in the second level here, it's about 110 degrees. Down in the Bobcat, comfortable 95, so we'll stay down there. Not that I'm complaining, don't get me wrong, I will work in 110 degrees any day over the cold. Then you'll hear me complain. Our greed is paid off. We were able to get the piece completely off of there using nothing but the Bobcat. However, now I am completely consumed by greed, so getting it off of there wasn't enough. Now we need to bring it down to the first level. The pizza girl took a break from relaxing in her foldable lounge chair in the sun to come watch me and make sure I'm doing everything okay. And I know sometimes it's hard to tell if I'm sarcastic or serious. I was being 100% serious. She was sitting in the sun in her foldable lounge chair. We'll set it down on the ground, pull all the nails out of it, and stack it with the rest of our flooring that we have left over at Scott's Building Materials Emporium. We're not done with our flooring, but unfortunately we can't get the assault flooring removal tool in here, so we're going to have to use the old-fashioned Scott removal tool. Although we do have a Scott switch. It's kind of like a Glock switch, converts them to fully automatic, so this process takes a whole lot less time. And we'll get this last little piece out of here. Hopefully they didn't build the building around this one. The rest of our nails out. Alright, I win. I think we're done with flooring, at least for now, so let's move on to something else we've done 100 times already in this demolition, and that's pulling a door off. Although this is the time where I actually remembered you start at the bottom and work your way up, and that upper hinge holds the door in place. I guess you can teach an old dog new tricks. Or at least remind him that the tricks for cars also work for buildings. We'll pull all of our wall plates off of here so we don't damage them before we throw them in the garbage. And then we're going to let this guy loose with the Assault Drywall Removal Tool to get our drywall out of our way. And as it turns out, our drywall is actually holding our door frame in. Another quality build. And for all of the comments on YouTube that ask, does the landlord care that I'm devaluing his property by destroying all this? You mean knocking it down before it fell down on its own? No, he doesn't care. And I don't care. We worked out a deal. When you rent commercial property, you're allowed a build out. They discount your rent so that you can spend money to make it work for you to make money. That's what we're doing here. It appears a lot of the rental property experts on YouTube don't understand this concept. In a future video, when we're all done here, I'll have a cost of everything that we did and how it worked out and what I saved in the long run. So we knocked our wall out of there, at least most of it. We'll pull our electrical out of here. We did shut it off. At least I think I did. Although at this point, I might be immune to electrical shock because 120 is nothing compared to being shocked by a spark plug wire, which has happened to me more times than I can count. And I can assure you, I was just as restarted before that happened as after. Anyway, we disconnected our furnace, so now we're going to pull our wires through. Of course, they don't want to go. Straighten them out a little bit. Pull them the rest of the way through. We're going to try and leave as many of these wires complete as we can. So we're going to pull them out of here and try to reuse them later. We'll disconnect our conduit up here and pull it apart. This should be further than we have to tear down, so we should be out of harm's way. Oh, we got a little body work here. Some crazy guy with the Bobcat dropped a 2x4 on that, or maybe a 2x12. Bent it a little bit. Pull our wires out of here, and then we'll nicely coil them up so we can reuse them later. After we get our walls up and run all of our conduit, we can reuse these circuits and hopefully use a lot of this old wire. It's not that old, so we'll save it. And we'll save this connector too, because I'm cheap. We disconnect our lights. We'll pull the nails out that nailed it into the joist. Kind of trying to save this light, not sure why. Maybe I'll use it. Maybe it'll just be in perfect condition when it goes in the pile. We'll pull our duct out of here. That's going straight in the pile. And we have another light. Pull the nails out. We already disconnected the wires. And toss that in the pile. Just not sure which one. Now we start pulling all of our conduit out of our walls. This one, they daisy chain the heck out of it. We have more money on connectors than we do in anything else. We'll pull the first two pieces of conduit out of there. They're fairly long pieces with only a 90-degree bend at the top, so we'll be able to reuse those somewhere, I'm sure. We'll donate them to Scott's Electrical Supply Emporium. Now we can stock up on connectors. Seems like they put one in between every single stud. Conduit is a little forgiving. You can bend it in there and just make that one piece, but what do I know? I'm no expert. I'm just some random guy on YouTube with a lot of electrical conduit connectors and very short pieces of conduit. Some of them pre-bent. In my limited demolition experience, I have noticed that driving a truck through the wall does save a lot of time. And I feel like if I went through this wall, I wouldn't have wasted any conduit. Maybe a couple of connectors, but that's about it. I can assure you, if Scott's piggy bank wasn't already maxed out, we would have driven the truck through this wall as well. Who am I kidding? If I could afford it, I'd drive that truck through every wall. The Bobcat's fun, but That truck was a bucket list item. Now we need to remove our thermostat because they chose to run the wires through one of the joists that we need to remove. Pop the cover off. Straighten it out a little bit because apparently they didn't bolt it into the wall very well. Screw it into the wall. Should have borrowed some of those drywall screws from my friends in Miami. We'll unscrew it from the wall. Pull all the wires off of there. We don't care where they go. That's the HVAC tech's problem later. Now we can just fish these wires through here. Why they chose to drill this tiny little hole and feed these wires through makes no sense to me. There's a knot right there that's knocked out that could have accommodated this thermostat wire with no issue whatsoever. And if that wire was 5/16 of an inch, that's the hole that they drilled. That's 8 millimeters for everybody else that doesn't use freedom units. You know, that likes to divide by 10 instead of using fractions, like us stubborn Americans. Now we're going to bring in the assault joist remover. Is it faster than using the pry bar and doing it manually? I don't know. Probably not. But it's a whole lot more fun. So that's the way we're going to do it. We'll even poke these joists down and send them to a lower level. And the nail removing gnome can pick them up from there and save them for us. Now we're going to get a life lesson about Scott's planning. Most people plan for plan A or maybe even plan B. Scott's already on Z. Plan A, lift this entire assembly of floor out around our furnace and slide it out. Unfortunately, plan A didn't account for the conduit that's stuck behind the arms of the Bobcat, or the fact that the Bobcat doesn't go completely sideways. So we're on to plan, I don't know, pick your alphabet letter. Well, all I know is destroying this little piece makes me feel better. So that's what we're going to do. Kick it out of the way. Show it who's boss. Recalculating.
Parkour! This is parkour. The goal is to get from point A to point B as creatively as possible. So technically they are doing parkour as long as point A is delusion and point B is the hospital.
So our conduit is complicating things. We need to slide our joist back. You know, all the work that we just did. We're going to undo. Oh well, standing up here. Safety experts, look away. Move our conduit above our joist, and we're free. We can lower our Bobcat down, kinda. I was trying to take this out in one piece, but at this point, however it comes out is what we're going for. And if we don't destroy the furnace, that's kind of a bonus. We may have no lights in the office when I'm done here, but that remains to be seen. So far, so good. All right, we're out of harm's way. Now we're just breaking stuff because it's fun. Well, the assault joist remover didn't go as expected, so let's see if the semi-automatic Scott-powered joist remover does any better. So far, so good. Everything's going as planned. pry the toenails out of this one. And in case you're wondering, yes, the piece of flooring they built the building around is still up there. I'm kind of hoping if I get these joists out that we'll be able to get that piece out of there, but no guarantees. Second one out, no problem. Try our third one out. All right, we got our flooring to drop down. Drop that down. And now the flooring has forced my hand. The reciprocating butter knife has come out. We're taking this thing out, one way or another. There's one, and there's two. I honestly still don't know how they got it in there. Since we still have our assault butter knife plugged in and ready to go, we'll go ahead and cut out this top plate. This is the wall that didn't have a header and had structural drywall holding the door frame in. Alright, shouldn't take much to take down. But since I like to over-deliver, or maybe overcompensate, we're going to use the assault wall remover tool. You can hammer out those nails that are nailing the wall into the floor, but this is so much easier. And just as much fun with less stress on my aging body. I think our wall is free. Pull these last couple nails out of here. And we'll try pushing it over, which doesn't work. And we realize that sometimes machines can't beat manual labor. So we're going to do it manually. Knock all of our studs off here. This is also good stress relieving. People pay good money to go to a rage room. I rented one and call it work. We're currently stacking up inventory for Scott's Building Materials Emporium. The nail removing gnome is going to have to come do his magical job, but we'll be able to use those 2x4s for something else later on. Well, alright, we've dismantled all of this wall. Now I'm going to call and order a pizza, not because I expect to get a pizza, but maybe the pizza girl will show up and she get rid of that pile of wall that's left over. So we can bring in our assault wall remover and take out the rest of this wall. The bottom is only held in with thoughts and prayers, not a big challenge. But the top plate is tied into the other wall, and that last stud is toenailed into the other wall. So it's going to take a little bit of work to get this out. And by work, I mean I have to push the levers a little bit harder, but it doesn't actually take any effort whatsoever. And somehow the glass in that door survived all of this. I dropped multiple studs on it, and it didn't break. Had I wanted it, you guaranteed it would have broken. And we're done with the automatic weapons. It's time to do it manually. Got some drywall pieces here. I'm going to wiggle and pull, and those come out of there. Clean up in aisle 3. Give our wall a little push. It's always that one nail. Just wants to make our life difficult. I win. Turned our wall into a trapezoid. We start pulling our studs down. Drag our wall out where we can destroy it. See what comes with. Oops. Found some rogue conduit up there. And that's all that made it to the open floor. So it shouldn't be hard to knock this thing apart. I feel better. Now we need to remove the tile that's been stuck to the floor for, I don't know, 50 plus years. I only planned on doing 1 or 2 pieces, but they came up pretty easy. They were flexible, so I just kept going until the whole room was done. And for the safety / tile experts that have commented in my previous videos, these tiles are in fact asbestos free. I personally tested them. They tasted just fine. Some goofball welded this C-channel to our I-beam. I don't know why. Some of these were bolted to our joists. Maybe that's why it was holding the ceiling up. But in any case, I don't like them here. I don't know that they're in the way. I don't know that they would be a problem, but they bother me. So we're going to remove them. And lucky for me, I believe the last tenant, who was a fabricator and only fabricated the story of being a fabricator, put them up there. So they're booger welded on. So we're just going to grind the booger welds off of here, and these pieces should come off. There's one on each corner and a little across the top. You know, wherever easy to get to. A little hammer to break it loose. And we got the top loose. In order to get the bottom loose, we give it a little twist. But we need to hug the I-beam that's holding the building up just to, you know, provide some safety for ourselves. We'll wiggle and pull. And our C-channel's out of there. I don't know how heavy it is, but I really didn't want to drop it on the ground and find out. Can't be too heavy. My scrawny little arms and grip strength can still hold it. So now that I've done the first one and know what to expect, I'm going to be a little more daring. I don't have any I-beams to hug here. But we're going to do it the same way. We'll grind out our booger welds on the 4 corners, a little across the top. And even though I realize that removing these C-channels probably only benefits my OCD, I'd like to imagine that this I-beam is just breathing a sigh of relief, not having to support these any longer. A little wiggle and pull. We have one more. Well, technically 2, but the other one isn't in our way yet. So if our OCD doesn't take over, it can stay there. But that remains to be seen. For right now, we're just taking this one out. Grind off our booger welds. Give it a little hammer. Give it a little wiggle. Got the top free. Bottom's pretty stuck. We're going to move our ladder over to the other side so I can hold on to this support beam. And we can put a little more pressure on it. Break those welds loose. And our C-channel's off here. And we didn't die taking it off. We survived that. Let's pull our outlet out of here. I think I turned the power off, but maybe not. Let's find out. This is our GFCI. Hopefully it's wired to all the rest of our outlets in the bathroom. If not, well, they did something wrong. Pull our wires out of here. Now that we have the wires out, we can go ahead and remove our conduit from the other side. Of course, we have our connectors every 6 inches. Pull those out of there. We'll add our 18 inches of conduit. And this goes down to our box that we just undid our GFCI from the other side. I'll pull this conduit out of here. One way or another, this piece is coming out. Whether I can remove the lock ring or the connector or both. Alright, enough of the kid gloves, careful demolition. Let's break some stuff. We'll pry this. Well, I don't know what this was. Can't really call it a trimmer because there was no header. So it's just an extra 2x4. We'll knock our drywall out of here. And I did score it where our wall is going to end. I'm not sure why. It had no purpose other than to tell me where I need to stop destroying other things. Because I'm going to end up taking this drywall out further past there. But, well, that's a good guide, I guess. And that's basically how much we're going to gain in our shop here. Yep, 2 feet. We'll remove this random 1x4. I think this was supposed to be shimming out that door that was held up by drywall, but I'm not totally sure. So we're just going to pry it off of there. Won't take much, although it was held in better than our door jamb. And we have our assault drywall removal tool. Loosen up this drywall in here. I learned this move from Chuck Norris. And I think we got a full sheet of drywall he can reuse. Knock, knock. Knock this half sheet of drywall out of here. Although it appears that the joint compound in the corner is stronger than the actual drywall. But it's all going to go eventually. I'm going to wiggle and pull. And we got a pile of drywall. We're going to start pulling our top plate apart. Go ahead, experts. Tell me that's the wrong hammer. I didn't see you guys handing me the right hammer, so we're going to use the wrong hammer. Well, I'm lazy and this works, so that's how we do things. And by the way, it also works as a pry bar. We'll pry our studs off of our top plate. Knock those out of there. Clean up in aisle Scott. Look there, it's Tiger Woods. No, Happy Gilmore. Nah, it's just Scott living out his failed dreams of being a professional golfer, destroying a 2x4 nailed to the floor. Moving down the line, we have some more of that top plate we can peel off of here. Fry it up. Toss that in the pile. Use the incorrect hammer to knock the rest of this off of here. Toss that in the pile. Now we can knock our studs out of our drywall. This one's a little more stubborn than the others. But they all die eventually. A little more whack-a-mole. We save this sheet of drywall. We can use that later. And if you felt, as I did, that this bathroom lacked privacy before, it just got a whole lot worse. In addition to 2 doors, it now has multiple windows. Now it's time to show off my expert plumbing skills by removing these supply lines to our shower. Nothing says safety like electric tools and water. We did cap off these lines up above and we're just cutting off the extra, so any water that's in there is just what's left in the lines. I can assure you these are indeed plastic lines, and it's only because my saw blade has no teeth that it looks like it takes a long time to cut. Because, well, I'm poor and I can't afford saw blades with teeth. Maybe someday I'll be part of the 1%ers that have saw blades with teeth. But until then, we're going to do things like save this neck to our shower head that we can reuse later. Now things might be bad for me, and we might be strapped for cash. We were not so poor that we need to save this dolphin shower curtain. So that thing is going in the pile. Now we can go ahead and unscrew the knobs from our shower fixture so we can take it out of our wall. They were half loose there. Still stuck in by a little silicone. Go to the other side. Pull the screws out of it, holding it in there. Should be free. Looks like it is. We just need our fixture removal tool. We'll go apply that to the other side. And our fixture is out. Our fixture removal tool is multi-purpose. It also removes towel racks. Done. But wait, there's more. Shower curtain rods. Done. Some time has passed, so I believe the upstairs has dropped in temperature. It's now 108 degrees up here. So we can go ahead and pull our light out. Pull the cover off. Disconnect our wires. First we're going to make sure there's no power there. We're going to do a little snip snip. Pull our lock ring out. Pull all of our nails out. Probably should have taken that collar off the bottom. I think we can fit it through this hole. If not, we'll just make the hole a little bigger. And we saved our life. We have a ceiling joist that I'm pretty sure is only held up by the drywall, or maybe it's holding up the drywall. I'm not sure which. Maybe it's a joint effort. Either way, both of them are leaving. And they went with the drywall screws here. Also good for putting cars together if you're in Miami. Pull our toenails out. And there's toenails on the other side, but, well, if we throw this far enough, they'll come out. And take some of the drywall with. I'm going to stomp the rest of this drywall out of here. Alright, now we got above the shower. That's done. Let's head downstairs. First, you must size up your opponent. Looks like a weak spot here. We'll kneecap them. And we got another one. I feel like I'm stealing the nail removing gnome's job. That board's a little too short for him. He's got standards. Alright, at the end here, they got about 4 2x4s nailed together. Drywall off. And they did nail them to the joist up above, so knock those nails out of there. break off whatever sealer or plaster or anything else is holding it to the floor. It's not nails. Every day's arm day. Curl this and take it over to the pile. Now we're going to get rid of our nasty shower because throwing it away is probably easier than cleaning it at this point. And we all know that I don't clean anything anyway. So we already removed our drain. And the only thing holding it in should be some paint, maybe some plaster. I think I pulled the drywall screws out. And we'll use the correct hammer for this. There we go. Oh, somebody's been here before. That was not originally installed. I didn't think it was. When the last tenant moved in here, I believe he put it in. Unscrew our 2x4s. It's a lot easier than hammering them out of there, since they actually use drywall screws. Plus I can go ahead and use these to put some bumpers on later and send my cars to the auction in Miami. We're going to peel our drywall off of here. Look at that. I might be able to reuse this piece. Pulled some of the trim off with it. Maybe we can reuse the paint. Nah, I don't like that color. More drywall screws to add to our inventory at Scott's Building Materials Emporium, and also Scott's Auto Repair, Miami branch. And knock out what little bit of wall we have left here. The bottom plate ends almost at the wall where we need it to, so we're just going to pull the studs out and knock that bottom plate out. We'll have to cut the top plate. Trying to decide if that's going to fall on my head. Almost. From where I'm standing, something doesn't quite look right. We got 16-inch centers at one end, and I think about an 18-inch center at this end. Not sure why. Just trim our top plate at the edge of that joist. It's a little longer than we're going to need. We can always trim it down to where we need it later. You thought I was joking about the dull saw blades? I wasn't. We're going to pry out this rim joist here. We're probably going to end up replacing it because it does have a crack in it. We need to get this last joist out of here, so just pull my nails out of the end of it. Try not to pull it all the way out. Leave it in there for now. Pry up the toenails. We already knocked the bridging apart. Should be able to twist it off of there. Get our toenails to fall out to the other side. And we'll go put this in the nail removing gnomes pile.
Now I have an answer that I know you've all been dying for. Well, maybe not, but I want to know the answer, so we're about to find out how much this thing weighs. £37.1 pounds. And for the rest of the world that are not stubborn like us Americans, that's 16.85 kilograms. We've reached a milestone. The destruction is over. Our shop has reached the maximum square footage for our uses. We'll still have a couple little things to take apart. We got some trimming to do, but for the most part, now it's time to start putting everything back together. We're gonna put our wall. This is where it's gonna end. We're just gonna go all the way up. And if you're wondering why I bothered to do all this work just to gain 2 feet, because that's really all this is here, the reason for that is there is a beam in the ceiling. It's a support beam for the building. And this way we can run our walls all the way up and tie into that beam. Not that the ceiling needs any support, not that our walls do, but it never hurts to tie it all together. In case the big bad wolf shows up and tries to blow my shop down, I know you won't be able to. So I was kind of glad that I did decide to do this. I wasn't sure if I was just gonna suck it up and lose this 2 feet and not tie it into the beam or something else. But I just decided I was gonna go ahead and do it, move the shower. And it's a good thing because underneath the shower, it was all leaking. So there was water underneath our tile here, and it wasn't gonna be long before this tile was starting to peel up and break loose. And then it would have been a project for later on. So at least now we'll go ahead and fix it. Hopefully when we put the new shower in, we're gonna do it right so we don't have that problem. No guarantees though. We're gonna start moving on to the rebuild process, putting up our walls, framing everything out, all that good stuff. No more demo work. With the exception of that little piece of wall up there, which is only held up with thoughts and prayers, so it should come down pretty easy, but we're gonna worry about that when we're putting our new wall up there. Not sure if the fun is over or just begun. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh**. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take sh**. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.